Hey guys, been a while. Sorry, I've been busy dying of the flu or getting overworked. In fact, I probably still sound like shit from being overworked. Not the flu necessarily. That gets numb after a while. Anyway, today we're going to take a look at a new video. Obviously the gaming industry has been going crazy with Bayonetta, Modern Warfare 2, and God of War's around the corner. That should be fun. But yeah, for the time being, I figured I would make this video to hold you guys off. Today we're going to be looking at a Sony fanboy who is, I guess he's kind of waking up, but then his self-awareness is still just meh. But let's just hear what he's got to say. Come on, let's be nice. Let's actually listen to this guy.
So I was really excited when I finally got my hands on a PS5 last year. I've had some great next generation experiences with Astro's Playroom, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and more.
Nigga, please. There's about 4, exclusively exclusive PS5 games. You literally spent $500 on a console that plays 4 exclusive games. Now, I've said this before, exclusives don't sell consoles, but this is the Sony fanboy logic here. Exclusive sell everything. So yeah, you spent $500 on a console that plays 5 games. Congratulations.
It's become clear to me that Sony's direction for PlayStation going forward is just something that I'm not really a fan of.
God, as if the self-awareness couldn't get any word. And we haven't even started this video yet.
If you take a look at PlayStation now versus PlayStation in the 90s and early 2000s, you'll see that there has been a massive shift in the types of games they make. Back during the PS1 and PS2 days, there was so much more variety. Sony made platformers, stealth games, and even JRPGs.
I like the way this fool's going on as if Sony were the only person making video games back then. You know, you had Nintendo, you had Sega, and then, Microsoft was just getting their foot through the door. And I think video games, they kind of have their own couple years for different genres. Obviously, you had platformers in the 90s. You had a lot of movie tie-in games during the early 2000s, and they all kind of stopped. I especially miss those superhero ones, like the fucking Superman video game that came out with the movie. You had Batman Begins, you had all the Spider-Man games that came out. They were cool. But yeah, I guess every genre has its time to come and go before they dry up. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see them re-emerge, but it's very unlikely. I guess, things change with time. Reality is they're going back to that PlayStation 3 arrogant way, or they're going into lazy mode, what Microsoft decided to go do with the Xbox One era. Or, they got big for their boots. They decided, oh hey, we curbed the PlayStation 3 so we can go and put out a botched 2013 E3 conference and people will still buy our console. I'll ask them how well that worked out for them. Oh boy.
Under Jim Ryan's leadership, PlayStation only cares about AAA blockbuster titles, and anything that isn't a multi-million seller is a waste of time. Say what you want about how Sony's newer games sell way more than their older games, but even Sean Layden, the previous head of PlayStation, believed that the smaller titles were important to have around. I personally think that Japan Studios games were important because they added much needed variety to PlayStation's first party lineup, and they also had a dedicated fanbase who likely would have gone out and bought a PS5 for a new entry in these games, and naturally that would lead them to purchase some of Sony's other games since they've already invested in the system.
Yeah, but that's because corporations, like Sony, like Microsoft, like Nintendo, they're out to make one thing. They're out to make money. Therefore, they're going to put more effort on video games that bring in more money. Things like your FIFAs, your Call of Duties, your Maddens, your God of Wars, your Halos, your Gears of Wars. They all bring in money. That's why Xbox focuses on Halo, Gears, and Forza. The same way where PlayStation is going to now put more effort into Spider-Man, Wolverine, and God of War because they make more money. They've got more brand recognition that brings them more money. That is literally business school 101, dude. And yeah, I agree with you that the smaller games do bring in a niche crowd, but no one's exactly going to go out and spend $500 just to play this small niche JRPG. You get me? I mean, don't get me wrong, people spend like $300 on a console to go play Pokemon for the Nintendo, but that's significantly less money than what the PlayStation is retailing at. So, yeah. And then also, Nintendo actually has more exclusive games to play. They have Mario, you know? They've got the Smash Brothers stuff. They've got all the JRPG stuff. So, they're not banking on one franchise, where I feel like, you know, PlayStation's banking kind of on 3. Now, don't get me wrong, Xbox has been doing the same thing for years with Halo, Gears, and Forza, but even then, they're starting to kind of learn their lesson because it backfired on their fucking dumbasses. And now we're getting a good generation out of the Xbox Series X.
As an example, I promise I'm not a fanboy with these comparisons, but look at games like Xenoblade or Astral Chain.
Oh, God. You know, I was starting to think the self-awareness couldn't get any worse, but guess here we go.
There are games like Kena Bridge of Spirits, among other indies and Japanese games funded by Sony, but those aren't really first party. All that really came out from Sony this year was Gran Turismo 7 and Horizon Forbidden West, and I'm not really interested in those games.
Wow, the irony. You know, usually it was Sony fanboys telling Xbox fans about how Xbox has no games. Then you niggas come at us with 4 games. You're not doing that much better. You know? It's like saying, oh, I'm not midnight, I'm 11:55. It's like, no, it doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah. It's quite hilarious because seeing a Sony fanboy admit without being aware that they're admitting that their console's fucking up is kind of funny. Well, yeah, because those games were shit. Really, really shit. Don't get me wrong, Horizon is not my type of game, even though I love Guerrilla Games for the Killzone franchise, but, well, you know, they're not very good on the grand scheme of things.
And it just feels like Sony's first party output this year has been pretty lame. If you aren't into every game Sony makes, you're pretty much just waiting for the next big game, which is the case for me. I'm not buying God of War Ragnarok, at least not until I finish the original, and that's probably going to be a while. That's not to say that their current games are bad or anything. I mean, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, and Ratchet & Clank are some of Sony's best games right now, and I'm impatiently waiting for Spider-Man 2 next year, but compared to what they've done in the past, there's not enough variety.
Really, it seems like that's a you problem with a lot of the things you're going through, because at the end of the day, yeah, they're not your cup of tea, but at the same time, going on and saying that there is no variety is just kind of pushing it. I mean, you've just already stated how many fucking games there are. I'm not saying there's a lot, but I'm saying there is some, you know. But then you're saying, oh, well, that's not my type of game, that's not my type of game, but I like this game and I like this game. It's like, well, you know, that's a you problem, bro. That is honestly a you problem. If you don't want to play God of War, that's fine. You don't play Gran Turismo, that's fine. I mean, you've got fucking... And you're only mentioning exclusives. That's the funny part. That is the actual sad part about this whole fucking video. Is you're just talking about exclusives. Bro, how about those multiplats? Okay? How about we got fucking Persona 5 coming out for the PS5? How about you got fucking, I don't know, new Call of Duty? You got fucking Sonic Frontiers, Destroy Humans, Gotham Knights, fucking Saints Row. Now, I'm not saying any of these games are good. I'm just saying you can't complain about the lack of variety. When there is, you're just boiling them down to exclusives. I mean, you would think that, you know, with a console that is so hell-bent on exclusives, these people would also play multiplats as well. You know, Xbox has no games. You know what? Honestly, at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I would rather have a console with hardly any exclusives and just play multiplat games, honestly. I mean, this whole thing with exclusives is as if exclusives are the only things on your console. You've got multiplat games, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Another issue that became even more apparent recently is Sony's insistence on remastering games that run just fine on current hardware. The first example is The Last of Us, which was a PS3 game that was remastered for PS4, therefore it could run on PS5 through backwards compatibility. I can understand the thought process behind it, as Sony's working with HBO to make a Last of Us series, and they want a new game out there to have that cross-promotion, but to me it still felt like it was a little unnecessary. They also remastered the original Spider-Man PS4 game, but that was sold for $20 if you already bought Miles Morales, so that wasn't that bad. I thought that would be it in terms of pointless remasters, but now we're hearing rumblings of Sony working on a remaster of Horizon Zero Dawn, a PS4 game that came out 5 years ago. This is even more ridiculous considering that the game was just patched this year to run at 60 FPS on PS5, so what is the point of this? You're telling me that we can't get any new entries in their classic games, but they can just remake the same games over and over?
Alright, I'll give you credit where credit's due. Sony need to really fix their shit. I mean, their form of laziness in terms to port over PS4 games to PS5, they're only doing it because it's piss easy to do, and they've already half done it. All they need to do is slap on a new sleeve and call it a new game, and people will go out and spend full price on it, with things like Last of Us, Spider-Man, and Horizon Zero Dawn, as you clearly stated. But then you're going on as if this thing is surprising. Don't get me wrong, Xbox has done the same thing. I mean, you had Gears of War on 360, you had Gears of War Ultimate on the Xbox One, and then they've got the enhanced version for the Series X. Like, it does happen. Even with Halo, you know, they did Halo 1, Halo Anniversary, and then Halo Master Chief Collection, and Halo Chief Master Collection PC, then enhanced for Series X. They've done it, alright? Everyone's guilty of this in some way, shape, or form, unless you're Nintendo. If you're Nintendo, you got the balls to just straight up port the game without remastering it or nothing. But again, this is just another way to make money. If you don't like it, just don't buy it.
And with how fast Sony is porting their catalog to PC, that number is probably going to drop to 0. Add the fact that they're still saying that future titles might come to PS4, and I have to wonder why these consoles came out so early when they're clearly not ready to move on. For a console that's almost 2 years old, there's a pathetic amount of true current gen only games, which blows my mind considering how much they're charging for these games. In some cases, the PS5 version of a game that has the exact same content as the PS4 version costs $10 more. If it weren't for the fact that there's always some time before their games come to PC, I'd regret owning a PS5, and even then, the fact that we just know that eventually they'll release games day and date just has me wondering when that day will come. I'm gonna keep it real, I didn't like it when Xbox did it, and I don't like the idea of Sony doing it either.
So what part are you upset with? Are you upset that other people get to play your precious exclusives, like Malcolm? Or are you just upset because now you can't justify why you spent $500 on your piece of plastic? Which one is it? I mean, as far as the Xbox doing it, Xbox was doing it ages ago. I mean, come on, the first Halo came out on PC, so they already had that connection. Microsoft, Windows, and Xbox was kind of designed around Windows or DirectX, so yeah, there you go.
More people playing games and having access to them, that's all well and good, but from a personal perspective, I feel that exclusives are the reasons to buy consoles, and in an admittedly selfish way, it validates my purchase.
So you basically admit that you only bought a PlayStation because you want to play your precious exclusives. That's fair enough, you know, I mean, I think it's a bit of a pathetic reason why. And it's a very unpopular opinion, as statistics show yet again, most people only buy consoles to play Call of Duty and FIFA. But hey, you know, to each to their own. If that's the way you want to do it, that's the way you want to do it. And if it's triggering you that, you know, your precious exclusives are going to PC, that's a you problem, my friend. Again, you've even said it, Xbox had to deal with it. But, you know, it wasn't a big deal when it happened over there. It didn't affect the Xbox market at all. Did it strengthen the PC market? Absolutely. And will this hurt PlayStation? Probably not. You know, you're still going to get those people who would rather have a console than a PC. Because, to be quite frank with you, having a console is a lot more convenient than having a PC.
But I also understand that this push for PC means that people don't have to go out and buy a console for a game or two, so it makes sense why the industry is headed the way it's headed. But at the same time, I guess old-fashioned Nintendo will continue to play to their strengths and be the only company actually making exclusives for their consoles going forward, which is really weird that we've gotten to this point.
Oh, and here comes the same argument about how, oh, I'm going over to Nintendo because at least all their games are actually exclusive. How old are you? Fucking 10 or something? Jesus Christ. Like, honestly, that fucking attitude is just stupid. It's actually killing the gaming industry because everyone wants to be so separate and segregated apart. Oh, Nintendo play on one corner, Xbox play on this corner, and PlayStation play in the middle. Like, who gives a fuck? Honestly. You like your games, you play your games, you enjoy your games. Shouldn't matter what console they're on. that's it, the end.
Currently, they're not happy with Microsoft's purchase of Activision because it could possibly spell the end of Sony getting Call of Duty games in the future, which is hilarious coming from the company that pays a ton of money to keep games from coming to Xbox.
But the fact that we're going this route, we're actually talking about exclusives, because that's pretty much what your whole video has been about, is exclusives, variety of exclusives, right? You want to talk about the lack of variety of games? You really want to go that far? Because there's plenty of games. They're just multi-plat, which obviously you don't like. PlayStation already tried making varieties of different games. They made first-person shooters at one point. They had the exclusive rights for Tekken back on the PS2 era. These games didn't sell, obviously. They weren't profitable, hence why they probably stopped making them. That's why they stuck with their Uncharteds, their Horizons, their God of Wars, and now their Spider-Mans. Because those are the games that make the money and profit. Now, yeah, you are right. Those niche games are necessary to have there. But, you can't go and necessarily blame a corporation if they don't want to make those fucking games. You just kind of look entitled and selfish. Which you kind of are. And then there's this whole thing where Microsoft are going to allegedly make Call of Duty exclusive to the Xbox brand. Not gonna happen. You know why? Because Call of Duty brings in too much revenue. It makes too much money being a multi-plat game. Okay? It's one of the most highest grossing video games in the past decade. Alright? They are not making that shit exclusive to one console. Because they just axe their money in half. That is terrible business practice. Not gonna happen. In fact, they'll probably say to him, yeah, fuck it, keep your exclusive content. Yeah, we'll keep giving you that, That's if they were feeling really nice. You know why? Because they know at the end of the day, they're going to probably stick that shit onto Game Pass. Day in releases. Fuck you. You can't really top that. Would you rather go out and spend $70 on fucking Call of Duty on the PlayStation? Or would you rather get it on the fucking Xbox with Game Pass? I don't know about you guys, but I want it on Game Pass. As far as games being kept off of Game Pass and the Xbox brand in general, I'd say about 3 or 4 games come to mind. Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy XIV, and a couple of other games. I know Resident Evil Village was one that they tried to keep off of Game Pass as well. They have kept off of Game Pass. So there was a few games there. Final Fantasy XVI even is another great example of a game that they've paid to keep off of the Xbox console. So yeah, it is hypocritical in a way, but it is what it is at the end of the day. This is how these guys play competition. They play dirty, they're assholes, and all you Sony phony fanboys, pony fanboys, just play into it. You suck off Jim Ryan, because that's just the way it goes, unfortunately. Alright guys, that does the end of the video. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up, share it with your buddies. Follow me on Twitch, join my Discord, follow me on Twitter. All links are in the description. And I will hopefully see you in another video sometime soon. I know I plan on streaming Bayonetta 3 when that hits store shelves. So yeah, that will be some. Also got Pokemon Violet and Scarlet coming out. I'm going to try and stream that one somewhere. So yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys soon.